Chief Rabbi, Your Excellencies, Rabbis, Lords, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to this year's World Jewish Relief Annual Dinner. At a time when the world, my world certainly, and yours too, I think, is so full of uncertainty, when predicting even a day or a week ahead has proved to us nigh on impossible, it is great to be back here again at the Guildhall to talk with certainty about the work of this wonderful organisation, continuing to save lives day after day, just as it did in the 1930s. Our theme tonight is Saving Lives Since 1933, and in the years before, during and after the Holocaust, World Jewish Relief's predecessor, the Central British Fund, saved the lives of 65,000 Jews from Nazi-occupied Europe. Now, I do not doubt that some of you, or your parents, your grandparents perhaps, were either beneficiaries of such action or you helped fund it. And over the past year, we've all seen one story dominate the media above all others. Not that one. There's rarely been a day when the 80th anniversary of the Kindertransport hasn't made the front pages. 80 years ago, in response to the tragic events of Kristallnacht, the visionary leaders of this organisation lobbied the British government to allow 10,000 unaccompanied children to find a safe haven here on these shores. And of course, World Jewish Relief marked the 80th anniversary of the Kindertransport in its own way. Last June, 42 intrepid bike riders retraced the 600-mile route of the first Kindertransport by cycling from Berlin to London over 6 days. They raised £200,000. The bike ride, I think so. They're the ones that can't quite sit down tonight, okay? If you see them around, hug them. The bike ride culminated at Liverpool Street Station, where most of the Kinder arrived between December of 1938 and September 1939. The 42 riders all had their own reasons for taking part. Some cycled for the sheer love of the challenge. Others had a direct personal connection to the Kindertransport. Sadly, Harry Bybring, whose son and grandson participated in the bike ride, passed away just a few days ago. Harry riding into Liverpool Street Station on a tandem bike with his son, Michael, will live long in the memory. And then there is the inspirational Paul Alexander. Now, Paul's mother, Eva, had suffered 2 stillbirths before being taken to hospital in Leipzig in 1936 to be sterilised under the Nuremberg laws. By a stroke of luck, she managed to escape. A year later, she fell pregnant again. She was overjoyed to give birth to her beautiful baby boy, Paul. Sadly, that joy wasn't to last long. On the night of Kristallnacht, the 9th of November 1938, her husband Alphonse was sent to Buchenwald concentration camp. For the next few months, Eva agonized over the hardest decision of her life. Should she hold on to that miracle child, hope for the best, or should she send away her son into the unknown, hoping he would find safety and survive? Eva chose the latter option. In July of 1939, she bravely put her baby into the arms of a volunteer nurse. She watched as the train pulled out from the station. Paul survived the journey, and on arrival in the UK was supported by the CBF. Paul, one of the lucky ones. His parents both managed to get to England before the outbreak of war, although they were not reunited as a family for another 3 years. The family moved to Leeds. Paul trained as a solicitor. He made Aliyah in 1971. In June of last year, the octogenarian joined forces with his son and one of his 9 grandchildren to participate in the 600-mile ride as his own personal response to Hitler. We are delighted that Paul is here with us tonight. Paul, where are you so we can see you? The warmest welcome to you, Paul, to your wife, Nilly, who's with you tonight, and of course to the many other courageous cyclists, some of whom are amongst us. Please put your hands together to welcome all of them for their tremendous achievement, and thank you. I think it was until just a couple of years ago, Paul didn't know the circumstances of his father's arrival in the UK. He only discovered the real story by accessing World Jewish Relief's treasure trove of historical records, which contained all the support given to them by this organisation in the 1930s. Paul's one of the 3,000 people who've been given their family files in the past 4 years since the archive was digitised. Identifying, researching, sourcing, retrieving so many records is no easy task. Surely, you might think you'd need a full-time professional team of archivists to mine such information. Well, the reality is somewhat different. 4 years ago, Debbie Cantor took on the task of recruiting and leading a team of volunteers to manage this complicated and sometimes emotional and traumatic process. Debbie established and led the team to become an integral part of the World Jewish Relief family and to provide a service that the whole community can utilize and can be proud of. Last year, almost 800 requests for family information were submitted, and the team takes time to communicate with each and every one of them, often in person, enlightening and enlivening their understanding of their own family history. Last year, you might remember, we established the Harry Heber Outstanding Volunteer Award, and I am delighted to invite Debbie Cantor, the recipient of this year's award, to come to the stage and receive it on behalf of herself and that entire magnificent archives team. Debbie, a warm welcome. We are completely indebted to Debbie and that fantastic team of volunteers who work so hard to reunite individuals with their personal historical records. So a huge congratulations, please, to the team. We fast forward 80 years and World Jewish Relief continues to save lives. Over the past year, 92,807 people were assisted. But what's most extraordinary about that number is that it doesn't seem so extraordinary. Every year since 1933, the charity's put the needs of desperately vulnerable people at its core. This past year was no different. To give you a better understanding of the scope of the work of World Jewish Relief today, I'd like you to introduce your chair, Dan Rosenfield. Dan, a warm welcome.